Hello everybody, welcome to the English classroom. In this classroom we are going to learn the chapter The Sacred Turtles of Kadavu, the third chapter in the third unit. It's a Fijian legend, right? So let's go deep into the chapter. So we discussed in the beginning when we were discussing the title of the unit, Beyond the Horizons. We discussed that we undertake journeys, travels to explore varieties of lands, places, and at the same time we want to explore different types of cultures and rituals. And in this chapter we are going to get introduced with a new type of ritual that we have never come across before, Travel at times crosses the frontiers of a mere exploration of the physical features of a landscape. Sometimes travel is just not crossing the border, just not exploring the physical features, and takes us far beyond to the exploration of the real self of a land. Sometimes just not the places, just not the sceneries, not the waterfalls. It takes us to the soul of the land, to the real self of a land, which is embedded in its customs, traditions, and rituals. So at times we go deep into the customs, rituals, and traditions. Here is a travel experience that acquaints us with a strange ritual on a Fijian island. So in this chapter, we are going to know a strange ritual that we have never seen anywhere else in the world. And let's see what is it. Okay. The Sacred Turtles of Kandao. Actually, it is written Kadavu, still it is read Kandao. Okay, the Sacred Turtles of Kandao. So it is about the sacred turtles. Okay, then let's see who are the turtles, how did they become turtles, and what is the legend behind it. Okay, let's see then. On the island of Kandau, pronounced as Kandau, okay, it is written Kadavu and still pronounced as Kandau, one of the larger islands of the Fiji groups. So one of the largest islands in the Fijian island, and some 50 miles by water from the capital city of Suva, and it is 50 miles away from the capital city of Suva, is the Fijian village of Namoana. So 50 miles away from the capital city of Suva, there lies a village which is known as Namoana, and it is in Fiji. Okay, so it's an island village. Namoana nestles at the foot of a beautiful bay adjacent to the government station in Unisia Harbor. So where is Namoana situated? It nestles at the foot of a beautiful bay, nearby a beautiful bay, and adjacent to the government station in Unisia Harbor, and closer to the government station in Unisia Harbor. Here the island of Kadavu narrows down to an isthmus. Right here, the island comes closer, and it becomes an isthmus. Isthmus means a narrow land, a narrow area, on either side there is water, right? So just this narrow piece of land breaks the water. Understood? In either side there is water, and this narrow piece of land connects bigger lands too. That's called isthmus. Okay, and by climbing the hill behind Namoana village, one can stand on the saddle and look out to the sea, to the south and to the north. So the piece of land breaks two seas, right? The sea to the south and sea to the north. So if you climb on the saddle, and one can stand on the saddle and look out. So saddle means a lower place between two cliffs, right? Cliffs you have already known, a bigger rock that's rise towards the sky, and between two bigger cliffs there is a lower place, and it is called saddle. And if you stand on the saddle, there you can see both seas to the north and sea to the south. Okay, then here are some pictures of Kandao Island. You can see the cliffs here and here, right? And it's just like a bay. The water comes inward in a broad way, and the land area covers it, right? So this is just a picture of Kandao Island, and this one also you can see a cliff and people sitting there. And here is the map of Kandao Island, and here it is Unisia. You can see, I just wanted to show you this picture. And here you can see a narrow piece of land, right? Narrow piece of land that blocks these both seas from coming together, right? So this is called isthmus, right? ISTHMUS, isthmus means this divides the both sea. Okay, this is for Kandao Island. You can see how big it is, right? Okay, then now legend says that in the days gone by, the warriors of Kadavu slid their canoes on rollers up over the narrow neck of land to save the long journey around the east coast and the west of Kadavu Island. So legend says there is stories told that warriors of olden age, they used to carry their canoe, their boats. They used to slid their canoes on rollers. They used some kind of rollers, some kind of tires and wheels they used, and using the rollers they slid their canoes through the over the narrow neck of land. They just slid their canoe through the land area to the next sea, right, to save the long journey around the east coast and the west of Kandao. So by doing so, they can save a lot of journey, right? You have seen the image here. So if you want to get from here to here, it is only just a small piece of land. So if you use some kind of rollers, and you can take your canoe from here to here, so that you can save a long journey of going around this island. You got it? Yes. Okay. So they used to slid their canoes. Okay, the women of Namona village still preserve a very strange ritual. That's what I introduced you, the turtle calling. So it is a very strange ritual. Let's see why it is. Why is it strange? The women of Namona village still preserve a very strange ritual, that of calling turtles from the sea. They call turtle from the sea. If you visit Namona village to see the turtle calling, your schooner anchors in a beautiful bay right under the cliffs of a rocky headland. So if you ever go to observe, to watch the turtle call, your schooner means the small ship, a kind of ship which is smaller in size and it is masted, right? So many masts are there, and it is called schooner. And your schooner anchors in a beautiful bay right under the cliffs of a rocky headland. Just under a cliff of a rocky headland means a rocky area that projects from a land area to the sea, right? That is called headland. So under a rocky headland, your schooner anchors. You land on the beach and then either sit on the rocks under the bluffs. So if once you land on the beach, you can either sit there under the bluff. Bluff means cliff, right? On the rocks under the cliff, as you saw the people sitting on the rock on the beach, or climb a rocky track to a point some 150 or 200 feet up the rock face. Otherwise, you can climb, right? Either you can sit on there on a rock and enjoy the sights, the views. Otherwise, you can just climb up the rock to the 150 or 200 feet up to the rock face, so that you will have a broader vision of the place. Okay. Here you have a splendid view and will find assembled all the maidens of the village of Namona singing a strange chant. So once you climb there on the rock, you will have a wider view, and you can see all the maidens of the village of Namona, all the maiden women of the village of Namona singing some strange chants, some kind of spells. As they chant, if you look very carefully down into the water of the bay, you will see giant turtles rise one by one to lie on the surface listening to the music. So that happens when the ladies chant the chants, when they use some kind of spells. You can see, if you observe so closely, that you can see giant turtles come forward from the water. They rise to the surface and they come to the shore, and they lie there listening to their voice. That is the turtle calling, surface, listening to the music. This is not a fairy tale. This is not just a tale, just not an imagination. It actually does take place, and the water in this area is forbidden for the fishing of turtles. So it is not just a story. It doesn't happen only in stories. This happens in reality, and this place is forbidden to hunt turtles. You can't fish turtles here in this area. Another interesting sidelines to this performance is that if any member of the nearby village of Nabukalev is present, then the turtles will not rise to the surface of the bay, and the turtle calling will have to be abandoned. Look at the strange thing, this will happen only the women present there were from Namwana village. Only the women from Namwana can call turtles to the shore, and if anyone from the village of Nabukalev present among them, no turtle will come to the shore. If any member of the nearby village of Nebuchadnezzar is a nearby village, is present there among the group, then the turtles will not rise to the surface of the bay, and the turtle calling will have to be abandoned. So they won't come outside, and we will have to stop it, because we can't do this continuously without having any effect. So if there is someone from Nebuchadnezzar, the turtle calling will have to be abandoned. As is usually the case with such strange ceremonies and customs, in Fiji, the turtle calling is based on an ancient legend still passed on from father to son among the Fijian people of Kandao. So there is a big story, there is a legend behind this ritual too. Behind all the ritual, there will be a story, there will be a legend, just like that. As the case of all the rituals, behind this ritual, there is a story, there is a legend that is passed from father to son, from generation to generation among the people of Kandao. What is the story? Many years ago, in the beautiful village of Namoana on the island of Kandau lived a very lovely princess called Tinekobaga. So many years before, in the beautiful village of Namoana, there lived in the island, there lived a very lovely princess called Tinekobaga, who was the wife of the chief of Namoana village, and she was the wife of the chief of the Namoana village. Tinekobaga had a charming daughter called Rodalis. Okay, and Tinekobaga's daughter's name was Rodalis, sweet name, right? Okay, and the two women often went fishing on the reefs around their home. And these two women, Tinekobaga and Rodalis, used to go for fishing, went fishing on the reefs around their home. They went fishing on the reef. Reef means you can see the seashore. In the sea, you can see so many rocks, rocky area in the sea. Sometimes it is made of what? Made of sand, right? Sometimes higher than the coastal area, sometimes lower than the coastal area. Anyway, it is a difficult place for the ship to land there. So it is called reef. So these girls, these women used to go fishing there on the reef. Then what happened? Once, Tinekobaga and Rodalis went further afield than usual. So once they went for fishing, and that day they went afield, they engaged in fishing, they went a long way than usual, longer way than usual. They waded out onto the submerged reef. They wade means to walk through the water, and they waded out onto the submerged reef. They waded and climbed on the submerged rocks in the water, which stretch out from the rocky headland to the east of the bay on which Namoana village is situated. And this reef is stretching from the rocky headland that we said in the beginning. Starting from there, it moves on eastward to the Namoana village, right? And they climbed over the reef. Then what happened? They became so engrossed with their fishing that they did not notice the stealthy approach of a great war canoe. They were so engrossed, they were so engaged with fishing, they were not listening anything else. They became so engrossed with their fishing that they did not notice the stealthy approach of a great war canoe. Right? There was a war canoe coming closer to them, and stealthily, without making noise, they were coming closer to them, and they didn't notice it. Filled with fishermen from the nearby village of Nebuchadnezzar, and the war canoe was from the village of Nebuchadnezzar, and it was filled with fishermen too. This village is situated in the shadow of Mount Washington. Nebuchadnezzar is situated in the shadow of Mount Washington, the highest mountain on Kandao Island. Mount Washington is very famous, and it is the highest mountain on Kandao Island. Today, Mount Washington is well known to mariners because there is a splendid lighthouse. Nowadays, it is very famous for mariners because there is a splendid lighthouse. They are warning them of the dangers of the rocky coastline, because the lighthouse warned the mariners that there is a rocky coastline. Beware of the rocks once you anchor your ship. So it is now the Mount Washington is very famous. So what happened to Rodalis and Tinekobaga? Suddenly the fishermen leapt from their canoe and seized the two women. Suddenly they jumped, they leaped. Suddenly they leapt from their canoe and seized the two women. They caught, bound their hands and feet with wine, with some wild wine. They bound their hands and feet, tossed them into the bottom of the canoe, and set off in great haste for home. After tying their hands and legs, they tossed them, they put them into the canoe, and they started to set off in great haste for home. They started to move towards their home in a haste. Although the women pleaded for their lives, they requested, plead means request, they pleaded for their lives. The cruel warriors from Nebuchadnezzar did not listen to their entreaties. Even though they pleaded, even they requested, their requests were not listened, were not taken to granted. Right? They just turned a deaf ear towards their request. The gods of the sea, however, were kind. So the gods of the sea were kind, and soon a great storm arose, and the canoe was tossed about by a huge wave. So as the gods of the sea were about to help them, they created some kind of gigantic waves, and a great storm arose, and the canoe was tossed about by a huge wave. By huge waves, the canoe was tossed, and which almost swam it, and it almost filled with water. As the canoe foundered in the sea, and it is filled with water and about to sink, the fishermen were astounded to notice that the two women lying in the water in the hold of the canoe had suddenly changed into turtles. And when these men look at these ladies, they have seen these two ladies have been changed into big turtles. Changed into turtles, and to save their own lives, the men seized them and threw them into the sea. So they were afraid of their life. So they seized these women and slid them into the water, threw them into the sea. As they slipped over the side of the canoe, as these two turtles slipped over the side of the canoe, the water changed and there were no more waves. So as Rhodalis and Tinekoboga escaped from the grasp of these men, of these cruel men, the weather changed and there were no more waves. Right, that's the story behind. The Nebuchadnezzar fishermen continued their journey back to their home village. They continued their journey, their voyage towards their home village. And the two women from Namuana who had been changed into turtles lived on in the water of the bay. And these two women, Rhodalis and Tinekoboga, they continued their life in the water on the bay. It is their descendants today who rise from the water when the maidens of their own village sing songs to them from the cliffs. So now the turtles that come to the surface and to the shore are the descendants of Rhodalis and Tinekoboga. Right. So when women from their own village sing song, chant, spell, they come outside to see them. Right. The translation of the strange song, which is chanted on such occasion, is as follows. Then what is the translation of the song that they chant? The women of Namuana are all dressed in mourning. Women of Namuana are dressed in mourning. Each carries a sacred club, and each one has a sacred club, means a heavy stick with them, each tattooed in a strange pattern, and each woman tattooed in a strange pattern. Do rise to the surface, Rhodalis, so we may look at you. So do rise, do come outside, do rise to the surface. So Rhodalis, so we may look at you, so that we can see you. Do rise to the surface, Tinekoboga, so we may also look at you. You also come outside, so we may look at you. Right, so that's the translation of the song that they sing. You may doubt the truth of the legend. You may find it hard to believe this legend, but you cannot doubt the fact that the chanting of this strange song does. So you can't deny the fact that these women chant the song, and its translation is this. And the thing happens is the turtles from the island come outside. They come to the surface. Chanting of the strange song does in fact lure the giant turtles. They attract the giant turtles to the surface of the blue water of the bay near Namuana village on the island of Kandao. So you can't deny the fact. May you find it difficult to believe the legend, but once the women started to sing the song, it attracts the giant turtles of Kadavu and they come outside. So that's the story all about. Hope you understood. It is a very small legend from Fiji. It is easy to understand. Read the chapter and go through read the chapter and understand it. Okay, and here there is a small glossary. It's there in your textbook. You can read it. Okay, and understand the meaning of words. That's all for now. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.